Please accept my most humble apologies for sounding like a sick person. I am a sick person. I feel better now, but I still sound sick. So, my apologies for sounding sick. It's rude of you to expect an apology for something I have no control over, but you don't care. Anyway, I've been sick. I've also been making a new build, and it's sick too. It's an axe and prayerful strike and holy ground build, and we did a video as I leveled it up from 15 to 30, and then I think we did a video from with level 60 invasions, I think. And these invasions here, I think most of these are at meta level, or at 125. You can tell by the number of runes that I get. I think if you get about 4,000 runes, that means you've defeated as an invader, you've defeated a meta level host. So, I think most of these are at meta level. Some of these might be at level 80. I was doing a little breakdown where I would record the build and post it so that you could see the stats and stuff, but I just forgot to do that, and it's too late to do it now because I've already leveled it up past 80. And I fully intend to make another build. I'm sorry. I fully intend to make another video for this build that will sort of like go over the final stats. So I'll do that, but right now, with this footage, I don't have any of that. But if you check and look at my weapons, if my weapons are level, 15, I'm probably level 80. If my weapons are plus 25, I'm obviously at meta level. As I'm just sort of opening my menu and toggling through stuff, you should be able to get a little bit of a feel for it. We've got the Ritual Sword Talisman on this build. This build likes to regenerate a lot of health. We've got the Wondrous Physic is giving us regen. We've got a Talisman that's giving us regen. We've got this shield ability, Holy Ground, where if we stand inside of that, we get some regen. So we're getting our health back from all these different places. And this, this is still sort of like the early, part of the build. I'm not completely finished with it yet, and I know at this point when I'm making the build, I already know that I'm gonna get rid of the Wondrous Physic, and I'm gonna replace it with Bestial Vitality, because those two sources of regeneration don't stack together. So I know that that's got to go. I am absolutely flabbergasted that that invader died to a solo host with Moonveil. That's absolutely crazy to me. I don't know, maybe there was some lag or something, but just wild to think about. I mean, Moonveil's really good, but I thought for sure that invader had it in the bag, Also, we've got the Warming Stones. We can use those. I think he's trying to, give up at this point, and I'm just not gonna let him. I'm not sure. Or maybe he was just trying to heal a little bit, and he thought maybe he could stand in my little circle and he would heal, but it's Holy Ground doesn't heal anyone other than you and your teammates. So if you're if you're co-oping, and you as the host or you as a phantom, you use Holy Ground, it'll work for your homies, but it doesn't do anything for your opponents. I've got two separate duelist Great Hammers on this build right now, and I'm accidentally using the wrong one. This is the one I want, because this one has Eruption on it, and I just want to use Eruption on a Moonveil, because I think it would be funny. It just seems like a nice thing to try out. Also, I didn't notice how long that guy walked around with that bench on his head. That was pretty funny too. So, if we're going to use Eruption, we have to use it like that. We can't try and trade with Moonveil, because it's just not fast enough, unfortunately. But still, it's funny to use a bad Ash of War to beat someone who's using a good Ash of War. that will always be hilarious to me. It's not about it's not about winning necessarily. It's about sending a message, right? But I have absolutely loved this build. The idea was just like I used Prayerful Strike, and I was like, that would look really cool on an axe. And the reason I thought it would look really cool on an axe is because it looks like a sort of like executioner's, you know, head chop. And so that got me in the mood thinking about like, you know, like making like an executioner type build. And a lot of my builds are named after or sort of modeled after older video game stuff, characters and what have you. And so I thought a good name for an executioner would be Meralda, like from Demon Souls. There was an executioner named Meralda. And I think Meralda used an axe, but now I'm doubting myself. No, yeah, she totally used the guillotine axe. That's what she used. Anyway, I just thought Prayerful Strike looked like a cool executioner axe attack, and it has like a holy. It looks like it has like a holy affinity based off of its visual, and I think it does default your weapon to sacred if you just, you know, go to the menu, the Ash of War menu, and you put it on a weapon. I think it does default to sacred, but it doesn't do any kind of like sacred damage. It's just regular damage. But you know, since it has that sort of look, I also had thought that Holy Ground was also a cool Ash of War, and so I was like, all right, I'll just combine those two ideas together, and that's what we'll have. Another way I think you can tell if these invasions are 80 or meta is whether or not I have spells. I think by the time I went to meta level, I had already gotten my spells. Yeah, this is level 80 because I've got plus 15 weapons. People ask all the time what weapon upgrades you should have for what particular level range. And, you know, anything from 30 and down, you should have plus 3. Once you get to 40, you should probably have like plus 5. And then 60 is plus 6. And keep in mind, you could go 1 or 2 over on these, or under, if you think that you would get better matchmaking. A lot of people asked me if I was going to put this axe on the build, the Crescent Axe, and I intended to. But this axe has a dex requirement that I'm just not going to be able to meet later on. I can meet it now because of Radigan's Sword Seal. Actually, I might... No, I'm not wearing the Sword Seal at this point. At level 80, I had replaced it with Millicent's Prosthesis, I think, or the Prosthesis Wearer's Heirloom. One or the other. Probably just Prosthesis Wearer's Heirloom. Yeah, just Prosthesis Wearer. I will say, if you're making a strength build, like, there's no reason, and you just go pure strength, there's no reason not to have Millicent's Prosthesis, or, you know, Prosthesis Wearer's Heirloom. You might as well go Millicent's, honestly, for the 5 decks, so that you can wield more weapons, you know, and get you up to 15. The only reason I didn't do that on this build is because I ended up leveling up my decks to 12 for the Great Stars, just so I could remove the prosthesis or the prosthesis wearers. I wanted that talisman slot free. But if you're not doing some weird stuff like I'm doing right here, you know, there's no reason a strength build shouldn't wear that plus 5 dex talisman for just, you get some more weapons, you know. I love just standing in this little circle. Look at the damage that I take or don't take. It's just hilarious to me that even at level 80, I expected the defensive buff here to fall off, but it really didn't, which was great. And keep in mind, this is like, I'm not even eating crab. Like, I will definitely go get some crab when this build is, like, when I'm making the final video. Probably I'll make it this weekend. For those wondering, it's August 11th right now. So, whatever date you're seeing this video, by the time you see this video, I will probably have already made the finished video, and I definitely want to do like crab meat buff because I want to see just how insane I can get these resistances and absorptions. I call it absorption. It's not absorption. It's just called damage negation in Elden Ring. It used to be called absorption in Souls. Now it's damage negation. But yeah, it's just funny. A lot of times when you're doing invasions, you know, you just sort of like glance up and you take a look at your health just to see how you're doing. And most of the time, you know, I have a pretty good idea of where it's at. Sometimes it's way lower than I expected it to be, but very rarely. In this instance, though, with this build, it's funny because I look up at my health and it's always like way higher than I expected it to be. Sometimes it'll look like I just took no damage at all. And that's hilarious, and it rules. The last invasion, the guy was using Rivers of Blood, and I've talked about this. Status effects absolutely make it hard for this build, because you just can't negate status effects. You can't out heal status effects. You can't out heal bleed. You can't out heal frostbite, frenzy and stuff like that. And so, almost as if on cue, here is the frostbite and the bleed. And it's a nightmare. There's no build that I'm capable of making, I don't think. No, well, that's not true. I guess we could maybe do some talisman swapping, and if I wanted to be like real try hard about it, like get some armors and try and make a build that can put up with these status effects and stuff like that. But this build can't. That's sort of the answer to this build, is like just hit it with status effects. But on the topic of the Crescent Axe, I got way off topic there. I love that axe. I love it, and I wanted it on the build, but it's not on the final version of the build because I don't have enough dex for it. But it is a great axe and has some great combos and pseudo combos, and it looks cool as hell. I just don't have the dex for it at the current stat allocation. That could change, and I could decide to put it back on there because it just does look so good. It just looks like it's a great axe, but there's plenty of great axes on this build, and none of them I think are bad looking. I like all of them. I think they're all cool. But the Crescent Axe having that special heavy attack definitely does, knock it up a few notches on the cool scale. The other reason I like this build so much is for stuff like this. Like, I can just walk 10 feet and if they will not engage me with an enemy, like, you almost can't blame them for not wanting to fight me and a dragon. I don't think they know that dragon would be a pain in my ass just as big as it would be to them. I don't think that they know that, right? Co-opers don't understand that, like, that dragon is probably going to kill the invader. Or will at least hit the invader. They don't know that. So you kind of can't blame them for not coming over and fighting a dragon. But when people are, super passive like this, like, if that had been like a single solitary omen that was there, like, just come over, But they don't want to. They want to be in control of everything. And in their quest to have control over every little thing, they will end up making mistakes. And that's nice hyper armor on that great sword. That's nice hyper armor on that great axe. Pretty incredible. I think that was my second attack that he poised through with his hyper armor. And the second attack does way less poise damage, so that would make sense. But yeah, that still though, a two-handed great axe to just poise through that with a great sword, that's wild to think about. All these patch 1.10 changes, still getting used to them. I originally, for a while, I was running Sacred Prayerful Strike. Sorry, I was running Prayerful Strike on this anchor, and I was using it with the Spear Talisman. And if you had the Spear Talisman, Alexander's Jar Shard, and you hit somebody with Prayerful Strike, like as a counter hit, it would be absolutely brutal. And was absolutely brutal. I also did it with the pickaxe as well. And again, also absolutely brutal, because that's just pierce damage, you know? But eventually I went back to my regular looking axey ways, because I just thought it should be axes, you know, like obvious axes, not just axes on a screen somewhere where it says, oh, this is a great axe. It's a big anchor. What's a great axe about that? Standing in my powerful circle against some level 80 Limgrave gankers. I've got the Watchdog Greatsword. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know that is like my favorite colossal sword. I just think it looks cool. And it has like no dex requirement at all. I think it has like a 10 dex requirement. Like that's all it needs is 10 dex. Which is not a lot at all. Alright, now this is where this gets fun. He stops doing bleed stuff and he starts going for other stuff. And look at the damage. Just nothing. What are you doing, son? Get out of here. This is a room for adults. You belong at the children's table. Oh, really? Nice lightning bolt, nerd. Nice damage. Wow, where'd you get that at the low damage store? Was it on sale? Did you get it off the rack? Alright, let's get this other guy in here. I'm just kidding. Take all the damage. I love the swarm of flies spam. It makes them feel so like flaccid, you know? Like there's just nothing he can do, so he's just throwing flies at me. Now with this sword we can actually block pretty well. You can take a look at the stamina damage that I take. It's a lot from blocking, but like the black flame stuff, this goes back to like Dark Souls times. The black flame stuff was always like hell on your stamina bar to block it. But the lightning bolts and the madness beams and all that stuff, nothing. Just nothing. And this dude has cast like 8 spells at us, and look how much health we have. I love it. I love it so much. Just absolutely flexing on folks. It's just the best. I love my cool circle, and I love beating people to death with like these big heavy weapons. It's just the quintessential tank build, you know? And I know y'all are going to be asking, the music in this video is all from Resident Evil 2, the original Resident Evil 2 soundtrack. It has a great soundtrack, and I love it. And it fits the big, scary monster who moves slow and chases after you type of build that this is. And, yeah. You guys remember when Adam Barker was doing those Mr. X Pyramid Head Dark Souls remastered invasions? That was like so much fun. Like all of that was awesome. And this was kind of like my attempt at making something similar to that. Now Adam was using Cheat Engine, right? Like his monstrosities that he was making were like obviously like hacked stats or whatever. But they weren't hacked in any way that was like they fit the theme that he was going for, and they weren't like, oh, I kill you in one hit, ha ha ha, you can never kill me, ha ha ha. You know, it wasn't that type of thing. They were just like really tanky, bulky monster dudes, and it ruled. And this is like the closest thing I could do to that, but without having access to you know, like Cheat Engine or something. You know, there used to be like a lot of, well, not a lot, but it used to be pretty common that you would find like some interesting people using Cheat Engine for interesting interactions instead of just using it as, you know, like a tool to piss people off. But with Elden Ring being whatever, easy anti-cheat, right? You just don't see that type of content. And you know, like, it sucks that you don't see it, but like, for every Adam Barker, you know, or a guy like that who was doing stuff like that, for every person like that, there was a person who was just like, haha, I made you have a bad time. And so, you know, I get it. Can't have nice things. The gravitas through the door. I've got my circle. I'm ready to go. Open the door, baby. Let's go. Alright, my circle ran out, just like immediately. Also, ignore that I've got Moog's red bubble in my physic here. I was helping people fight Moog. I was doing co-op to fight Moog with this build for runes so that I could upgrade all my weapons from plus 15 to plus 25. And I have not talked about this, I guess I should. One of the most insane things about this build, making it, that I just did not consider at all, was how expensive it would be to upgrade weapons on this build. I don't know if you guys have noticed this or not, but if you're upgrading a big weapon, it costs more. Like, you have to spend more runes at Hugh to upgrade big weapons. And, like, I get it, it makes sense, you know, but, good lord, like, everything in my inventory is like a great axe or a great hammer or a colossal weapon. So everything is so expensive. It's the same amount of, you know, smithing stones. That doesn't change. It's just that I've got so many great axes and stuff that I've farmed. Oh, I guess I should also mention this. I'm using the Duelist Great Axe right here. And in some of the other videos, I was probably using the Rotten Duelist Great Axe. And the reason for that is because I think... No, yeah, I know. I know this. The Rotten Great Axe is a guaranteed drop. Unless I'm really bad mistaken, but I don't think I am. The Rotten Great Axe is a guaranteed drop from the Consecrated Snowfield. This one, you have to farm it. And you have to farm it here in Lindell. And so that means you have to farm it before you beat Malekith. Once you beat Malekith, you can't farm this axe anymore. There's like one guy who has it. Thankfully, it's not an awful run back for it. But yeah, it's much better damage-wise. You know, just like, you know, think about it from like a video game designer's perspective. Like, if you've got the same weapon, but one of them has the ability to, you know, inflict a status effect, and one doesn't have that ability, which one is going to be the stronger to physically hit? Right? That's an obvious answer. The one that can't do the status effect. You would definitely make that the stronger of the two. And it's the same for the hammer as well. But on the axe, it's very noticeable. It's very noticeable. When you have that axe fully upgraded versus the Rotten variant of it, it's super noticeable how much more damage you get out of just a regular heavy infused duelist axe versus a heavy infused Rotten duelist's axe. So that's something to keep in mind if you're trying to make a build and you want to use a big axe and you're looking at that, you know, those. Yes, the Rotten axe is a guaranteed drop, but you're giving up a lot of damage by not just going and farming the regular great axe. And same with the hammers, as I said before. So yeah, I don't know if I mentioned that in the videos before. I don't think I did. But yeah, that's just a little thing. And this build at this point, when it's level 80, it's just all strength. I think it's like close to 50 strength, or right at 50 strength. That's not going to change once we get to meta level. We're still going to have 50 strength. We're just going to have like 20 something faith, maybe 32. Maybe it's 32 faith. I forget. But yeah, actually, here you go. You can see I've added some spells, so we're at meta level now. We've got Beast Claw, and we're using the Beast Talisman catalyst to cast our spells, you know. We're using that because it scales with strength as well as faith, and obviously we have 50 strength, so I think that's probably better for us than anything else. But we've got those beast spells. Eventually I ended up adding Wrath of Gold and Rejection, as well as the Crucible incants. The only Crucible incant I don't have is the Fire Breath one, and it's not even because I think it's bad or anything. I just didn't bother to go get it yet, but I will go get it. But I really like the Shoulder Tackle incant. It's not great, but it's fun. It's cool looking, and it can do some stuff. It might be better than you think it is. It's really good after a backstab or a riposte as a wake up, and against someone who doesn't see you coming. It's also pretty good. It's also good if someone is panicking. Because you can sit there and charge it up, and if they just panic the whole time you're charging it up, that's bad news. The tail has a ton of hyper armor, so it's okay. I don't think it actually, I know it doesn't true combo, but it can hit twice. But more importantly, it can hit through walls and stuff like that. So if somebody's being really annoying and just hiding behind a pillar or a wall or a fog wall, you can use the tail to sort of bat them around. You'll notice that when I use Poison Mist on the Great Stars, I regained health for as long as they stood in the Poison Mist. The Poison Mist is technically like attacking you, and your defense is your immunity stat, right? So for as long as you stand there in that Poison Mist, and it's not you're poisoned, I'm just going to keep regaining health. It's just the mist itself. While that mist itself is hanging out, you'll regain health from every quote-unquote hit because of Great Stars. That also works for Eruption and just about everything else that you could imagine, combining with Great Stars. It works for that as well, which is pretty cool. I cannot believe that guy just stood there and ate that. Oh yeah, I also have the Gargoyle Halberd on this build. It's a good strength halberd, one that doesn't get used a whole lot. It's very short compared to Knight Rider Glaive, but less people use it, and I don't really want to be using glaives, honestly, with this build. I just have it because you kind of have to have one, a spear or a glaive. You just kind of have to have one in Elden Ring, and so I do. It has blood tax on it, which also refills my health, so that's pretty cool. Using Sword Dance on the long haft axe and the fully charged second heavy attack. You guys remember like 2 weeks ago in one of my videos? It's probably been longer now. I was talking about how I became obsessed with hitting the second heavy attack on axes. That was what finally sealed the deal, and I was like, alright, I'm gonna make this axe build I've been wanting to make. Also, check out this shot. How great was that? Oh, get out of here. They were shooting me with I think it's the same group. They were shooting me with golem arrows, and so to get that payback was nice. So here we've got I think this is an invasion where I actually use the Crucible incant, the tail. I think this person is just sort of trying to play the wall. I don't know what they're doing, honestly. They just kind of look like they're freaking out now that they're alone. Yeah, here we go. Oh, look at it. We love that. See how it didn't true combo, though? The tail is so big that it, the access that it gives you, the range, is really nice. And that's a really good illustration there, because the wall has those holes in it, so we can kind of see through, and we can kind of look behind the curtain and see how the tail is swinging past those points. And so now imagine that's somebody behind a fog wall. They're standing right past the fog wall where the boss, it doesn't start the boss fight yet, but they're in the boss arena, and they stand off to the side. You don't see that nearly as much in Elden Ring as you do in Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 was just, I mean, it was like an epidemic of like elementary school kids with lice. Like, there was no beating it. There was no getting ahead of it. You was just going to have to shave everybody's heads if you wanted, you know, to get rid of it. It was so bad. Like, people would just, they would leave their bosses alive just so they could gank, and then the moment they start to lose, immediately run to the boss. But they wouldn't start the boss fight. They would just stand there and wait, and hopefully you would get bored, and they could go back to ganking once you left. It was miserable. Doesn't happen as much in Elden Ring, thank God. So these people would not make any progress at all. At all. They were just standing there forever. And so this is like what this build is supposed to do. But you'll see like dual curved swords and a spear that has a magic bullet on it, or whatever the hell it's called, right? This is the exact situation where it's like, okay, I have to have a halberd. I have to have a glaive or a spear. I have to have something, because these guys are playing the most well, to me, the most unfun way. And so, like, if I want to have a chance, I also have to play like that, right? But this is what this build is supposed to do. It's supposed to, you know, it's supposed to come down here into the grace and set down the holy ground. And then it's supposed to just stand here and not take damage, and regen, and what have you, and take advantage of their passivity. And so that's what we're doing. And dual curved sword guy is every dual curved sword guy in the world. They're all the same. And now that the host is all by themselves, now I can have some fun. So we'll switch off of the glaive and we'll go to the axe. I said that, like, you know, what they were doing was, for me, like, the least amount of fun that you can do, right? Like, that's the least fun way to play the game. To me, I understand and I respect the fact that, you know, they didn't ask me to come here. You know, they didn't ask me to come judge how they played the game. You know, they were just playing the game, and then I showed up. As someone who does invasions and talks to people about invasions all the time, I see people all the time who are like, I just don't see how they can play the game like that. It's because it's fun to them. They don't sit around and play this game, you know, 40 hours a week as a full-time job or whatever. You know, they just want to get through it. They're just playing. They're just having fun. Maybe they just learned about PvP. Maybe they're just learning and they're like, oh, this thing is supposed to be good. Let's use the good stuff. Let's win PvP, right? They didn't ask for us to show up and, you know, stand atop our lofty peak and cast judgment down upon them. They didn't ask for that. And I think it's important to remember that. Like, I'm not saying you have to say it rules, because it doesn't. It sucks. I know it sucks, and you know it sucks, but that's none of our business, really. You know, they're playing the game. They get invaded. They didn't. Now, if somebody is obviously like Taunter's tongued and whatever, okay, fine. You can say that sucks. You know, but these people who are just playing the game and they're reading strategy guides or whatever, you might not understand how it's fun, but that doesn't mean that it's not to them. And so I always try and keep that in mind. Like, they're just doing what they want to do to try and get through, you know. And I'm just doing what I want to do. And at that point, it just sort of becomes like a battle of willpower, right? And who's going to stand in this circle and heal, and who's going to run around like a chicken with their head cut off. And so I don't have any like ill will or whatever towards people that play the game that way. And I see it all the time. You know, people who invade are like mad at how many people use Moonveil, or they're mad at how many people use, you know, dual spears or whatever. And like, I get it. And again, if the person you're invading is like Taunter's tongued, obviously going out of their way to just try and make you have a bad time, I totally get it. You know, that person getting on your nerves. Like, you know, they're trying to. But these other people, I think it's important that you remind yourself, they're not just doing this to get on your nerves. They're doing it because they think it's fun and because they think this is how they're going to get through the game. Yeah, anyway, sorry. That's a rant. I'm allowed to be saint rant every once in a while. This guy, I really liked this invasion. The guy using Morgoth's, he just picked up the axe and the armor, and I'm using that axe. And now he was trying to swing it at me, but it was unupgraded, right? And he realized that, so he went back to his upgraded weapon. But I thought it was really cool that I got to sort of give him like, okay, you're trying to use this axe. I'm using this axe. I'll show you how to use it. Now, right now, I can't because he's got a curved greatsword, which is a really great weapon for chasing people. And it has a ton of hit stun, which will allow his friend to hit me, right? And I'm going to take 2 hits, 3 hits, and that might be it, you know, even on a build as tanky as this. So I want to use the axe because this guy just got it and he was playing with it like, oh, I wonder if this is any good, you know. And I wanted to be like, yeah, it's good, you can use it. But he kind of put me in a situation where I wasn't able to show it off like I wanted to. And then the blue showing up and just getting absolutely chopped in half when they tried to turn into the moon. That was also hilarious. Good God, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this video. I'm 36 minutes into it, and I've still got like 6 minutes to go. I've just been talking this whole time, and I've been sick. And so, like, the first thing that I was sick about was my my throat. I had a sore throat, like really bad. I couldn't talk at all. And now I'm sitting here talking for like 42 minutes straight, and I guess that's kind of the healing process. Still though, it is a bit much. It is a bit much. Alright, now let's see if I do the right thing. Do I switch back to the good axe to fight this guy with? Yeah, there we go. Alright, I totally forgot if I had done that or not. But it's good that I did. So that this guy can see, hey, that axe you just picked up, this is what it's like. Yeah, throw stuff at me, bud. It's not going to be enough. What I wanted, I remember this. I wanted Prayerful Strike versus Morgoth's Cursed Sword Dance, or whatever the hell it's called. I hate that thing so much. I hate it. It's so free. Look at that. Look at what happens. Look at what happens when good triumphs over evil. The Ashes of War. I mean, his Ash of War is evil. Mine is neutral. Mine is lawful good. I'm really hoping I got some cool clips of these miracles going to work here, because you know, I put them on the build for a reason. And I remember getting some cool moments with them. I just don't remember if I saved them or not. I am so, like, absolutely stoned on severe flu medicine. You know what I'm... And, like, 38 hours of sleep. Here we go! Oh, God. Oh, that could have been so good. I hope I got a clip with the Crucible Horns for you guys. I remember hitting somebody with it, but I don't remember how it went down. Oh, I don't think I've talked about this. Another cool thing about this build is the emphasis on regen. Keeping you at full health means that the ritual sword, Talisman, becomes sort of effective. Like, if you're in the arena doing duels, there's no reason not to have the ritual sword, and then the moment you get hit, replace it with something else, you know? That should just be like automatic. There we go. That was a pretty nice use of the tail. But in invasions, you know, you don't want to waste a flask which, you know, like, let's say, like, you wouldn't want to heal this much damage or that much damage, you know? You wouldn't want to heal that much damage with a flask to put yourself at full just so you could do, you know, a little more damage, right? But that's kind of where this build, like, comes in. Like, I don't have to drink a flask to heal that amount of damage. I can heal it other ways, you know? But because we have all that regen stuff, we have the Ritual Sword Talisman, it becomes more useful. And since it's more useful, we have, you know, we have something that's basically buffing our Jar Cannon damage. Because we can slap on the Ritual Sword Talisman, as well as the Arrow Sting Talisman. And now we're getting more damage out of our Jar Cannon, which is something like the Jar Cannon doesn't scale with any stat. It just increases in damage as you upgrade it. That's all it does. So, yeah, that's a nice little bonus that you get from this build. Is like the builds, the whole idea behind the build was like to sort of punish passivity. And what punishes passivity more than a damn Jar Cannon, you know? If we get lucky in this clip, maybe I'll hit somebody with the damage. Alright, so like 522 damage there. And then once we get to full health, if I have the Ritual Sword on, that damage would increase quite a bit. But again, I've been laying in bed for like 36 hours. So, you know, I don't remember everything about these clips. Also, there's a lot of clips this time. It looks like this is the last clip, though. So I know that. I know that for sure. Actually, you know what? There are other clips for this build that I didn't use because they're ganker clips that I will put in a different video. Maybe one of those has some of the incantations doing some cool stuff. I don't remember. But either way, when I go to invade with this build to make the finished build video, that's when I'll try and really make use of some of these incantations and try and get some cool clips with them. Because they deserve it. Look at the hyper armor! Through a jump attack and a follow-up attack and another follow-up attack. We love hyper armor. I do anyway. That guy doesn't. That guy's like, I hate it. I hate hyper armor. Well, get used to it, buddy. Alright, thanks for watching. Later, y'all.